All right, we are here today with Tincy Miller. We're the North Texas Council, State Board of Education District 12 Vetting Committee. These are the rules for the vetting process. No one is allowed in the room except the vetting panel and the candidate. All electronics allowed in the room shall be turned off except laptops used by the vetting committee and the video recorders provided by the vetting committee. Cell phones or voice recorders shall be turned off in the room. No written material or notes will be taken by the candidate. North Texas Council vetting panel members and candidate agree that all questions and responses at this vetting session are to remain confidential property until videos are uploaded and considered public information on the North Texas Council website and/or an alternate website. Verbal questions will be asked and verbal responses to those questions will be given with 1 to 2 minute responses for each question. The candidate will receive a copy of his or her vetting interview recording, upon which time the video is posted on the North Texas Council website and/or alternate website. So with that, we will now introduce ourselves to you. Tincy.
Liz Moser from Garland.
Janie Britton from Garland.
Barbara Harless from Murphy.
Babs Millward, Rowlett.
Joanne Snodgrass, Allen.
And at this time, we would like for you, Ms. Miller, to take 2 minutes to introduce us to yourself and tell us why you're running for the State Board of Education.
I'm Tincy Miller, and I'm the conservative Republican candidate for the State Board of Education District 12. My record, my experience, and my conservative values that I never compromised while I served on the State Board make me the strongest candidate in this race. 4 of those years, I was chair of the board appointed by Governor Rick Perry twice, and then confirmed by the Senate twice. I served an extra 6 months as chair at the pleasure of the governor. I'm a reading expert focusing specifically on dyslexia, trained and taught in the reading laboratory at Texas Scottish Rite Hospital under Dr. Lucius Waite. I became passionate about these kids learning to read and learning the basics, and I wanted to make a difference. I helped facilitate the passage of the first dyslexia law in our state. And then, as a phonics teacher, I helped implement the first phonics-based curriculum in our state, and the results, 98% of all 3rd graders passed the 3rd grade reading test based on the new phonics curriculum. Phonics works, history was made. Textbooks need to be historically and factually accurate, not politically correct. Textbook publishers are notorious for hiring liberal professors to write their chapters and then not edit the books. That needs to stop. Last but not least, our permanent school fund, best known as our children's textbook fund. I will not sacrifice the sacredness of that precious fund for those in Austin, liberal politicians, as well as some State Board of Education members who want to raid that fund for other purposes. Our children's future is non-negotiable. As a conservative, concerned, and effective leader, I want to go back and fight for the kids of this state and continue to defend and protect their precious fund. I'm endorsed by the Dallas County Republican Assembly, Representative Jody Lovenberg, Roger Staubach, Bill Ames, and Kathy Adams, and Senator John Corona, and others. Thank you, God bless you, and I ask for your support.
Okay, this is your first question. You have 1 minute to answer this question. What made you decide to run for a position on the Texas State Board of Education, and what is your primary goal?
Well, specifically what I referred to in my introduction. 2 years ago, when my opponent at the time ended up winning, and he had no really history or record of a voting record. So he went down there and started voting with Democrats, but the main thing that really got my attention was the fact that he joined with 8 other board members, wrote a letter, hand-delivered it over to the legislature leaders, and asked to raid the kids' textbook fund to make up the difference in the shortfall. And that is unconstitutional in my book. And so that is the reason my friends called and said, Tincy, come on back, we need you. You understand, I fought for 26 years protecting that fund and falling on my sword. And it is not appropriate to lose that fund. So that's why I'm doing it.
Thank you.
You have, you have 2 minutes to answer this question. Senate Bill 6, which became law in the last Texas legislative session, defines open source instructional materials as electronic instructional materials available for download at no charge to a student. With Senate Bill 6, why do you think that eligible institutions, including certain research universities and members of the American Association of Universities, are allowed to submit open source instructional materials for adoption without the State Board of Education being able to reject the materials? You have 2 minutes.
Well, I am against House Bill 6 or Senate Bill 6, and I wrote Senator Shapiro and everyone I could down there. I was not on the board at that time, but I wrote and told them not to support that, but it passed. It is part of the liberal legislators in the House and Senate that really want to encourage that approach and go around the State Board of Education without vetting or going through the appropriate checks to make sure that the book matches our curriculum and is accurate and factual. Apparently we were told that the professor can say, hey, it covers the curriculum. How do we know that? So it's a watering down of our process, which is considered one of the best in the country, and I'm absolutely against it. Anything we can do to either add more rules and regulations from the state board level, and then hopefully try to repeal it in the legislature this next time and change it. I'm very concerned because there's another piece of that they can send the money directly down to the local school districts where then they can buy anything they want. I'm very worried about that. I believe it sets the schools up to spending all this local dollars and then not having enough for real instructional material left for the kids. And that opens us up to a lawsuit.
Thank you.
You have 2 minutes to answer this question. With the passage of Senate Bill 6, local school districts will be given their own allotment of funds and more flexibility to purchase textbooks, open source instructional materials, and computer equipment, as well as pay for salaries and training of technology personnel with less oversight by the State Board of Education. Do you see this as a good thing? If yes, why? If not, why not?
Absolutely not. California did this many years ago, and where they sent the money straight down to the districts and told the superintendents they could buy laptops, Kindles, whatever they wanted, as well as books. Well, guess what? They spent all their money. They didn't have enough money left over for the instructional materials, okay, or the books or the true content material. And so when the kids were tested, they had not been taught over the curriculum. And so a lawsuit, big time, came to California. I tried to warn our leaders over in the legislature when this was happening, when I saw that move going. It puts us truly at risk. It does, and our kids at risk. But we've always been able to review the books from the state level, okay, and then make a list, send it out to the school district, and then they can pick any book they want off the list. And it's already been vetted, and they love the conforming approach, where that everything in that book matches the curriculum, okay? And most schools really prefer to have a conforming, 100% conforming book matching all the curriculum, not one of these kind of haphazard things that they're referring to in this bill. This is another approach, in my view, of trying to take away the power of the State Board of Education and water things down with a liberal agenda.
You have 1 minute to answer this question. Thomas Ratliff was an active lobbyist when he ran for the State Board of Education, but this information did not come out until after he was elected. Have you ever been a lobbyist, or do you have any other potential conflicts of interest that others might perceive as influencing your State Board of Education service?
No, I have no conflict of interest, and Ratliff came on the board after I left, so I did not know his background in that. I knew his father, so Bill Ratliff, who was a senator from Mount Pleasant, and but I didn't really know Thomas. So, but absolutely, I have no conflict of interest.
You have 2 minutes to answer this question. Education Week, June 2010, states that Democrats and some Republicans, including Texas State Senator Kiel Zilliger, if I said that now, Zilliger, plan to publish bills in 2013 that will rein in the State Board of Education authority or abolish it altogether. This is not just a Texas issue. In Iowa, Republican Senator Brad Zahn introduced Bill number 2371 to eliminate Iowa's Department of Education and State Board. This bill moves authority to regents and councils that are unelected and unaccountable to the people. What are your thoughts on this, and what will you do to keep the authority of the elected State Board of Education?
Well, first of all, we need the elected citizen board as a check and balance to the Texas education bureaucracy. Right now, there is no oversight over that bureaucracy. That was stripped from the State Board of Education in 1995. Bill Ratliff, a senator then, was the author of that, if you will, and his friend Paul Sadler, one was a senator, one was the House. I'm very concerned about them wanting to strip us of our power. And from the first day I was on the board in 1984, and it was a result of the big reform movement of 1984, 83, 84. And from then on, every 2 years, the legislators, started undermining the state board and pulling away our power. 1995 was the biggie, and that's what Bill Ratliff did. He literally pulled the state board over here away from the oversight of the Texas Education Agency, made the Commissioner of Education an appointed job by the governor, whereas before, the 15-member board by the 1983 law we were over that commissioner, 15 people. We hired and fired that commissioner, okay? And then we were over the Texas Education Agency. So there was a check and balance built in automatically so that you spread it out, the power out, and it was fair and democratic. We lost that, and it took about 2 years for everybody to begin to realize how dysfunctional the state board had become. And it's because of the way they wrote that law in 1995. We need to get that back.
You have 2 minutes to answer this question. What 3 pieces of legislation related to education would you like to see pushed in the upcoming legislative session?
Well, first of all, I'd like to see our power come back. It's going to be hard, but we need, as I just finished explaining about the governance structure, we need to get an elected State Board of Education back over the Texas Education Agency because they have no one to answer to. So that would be the first thing I do. I would love to get the ability to appoint the Commissioner of Education, but that's something the governor loves. I know that. I mean, all governors love it, okay? So the other thing I would like to see is to work on the issue of immersion in bilingual education. We have a situation in Texas where bilingual education was put into law probably in the 60s. And because it's in law, it has become very ingrained, okay? And now we have bilingual teachers. The schools require these teachers, okay? Now, bilingual education, or the program, has proved not to be 100% perfected. Kids are still graduating without being proficient in English, and so immersion has scientific research behind it. California went ahead and did it in about the mid-90s, and it came from the Hispanic parents who said, I want my children to learn English.